A tale of very different campaign rallies and very different visions for the United States of America. You have Donald Trump in Montana spewing whatever nonsense and incoherent words that he was garbling together. On the other hand, you have Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Walz in Nevada talking about hope with a future forward vision, joy, happiness, solving America's biggest problems. Will break it all down. Donald Trump is having an absolute meltdown over the fact that Vice President Kamala Harris is drawing massively larger crowd sizes than Donald Trump's crowd size. Over the weekend, Donald Trump made post after post claiming falsely, very falsely, borderline, what in the heck are you even talking about falsely, that Vice President Kamala Harris is, according to Donald Trump, AIing her crowd, that there's actually nobody attending her events, and that she's using AI to pretend that there are people at her rallies. Donald Trump's false statements are now being parroted by all of the MAGA Republicans who have taken over the Republican Party. It is odd. It is strange. It is disqualifying. This is not someone who should be near a position of power, yet alone the nuclear codes. We will break it all down. As Donald Trump and his campaign continue to claim that Vice President Kamala Harris turned black, that she's actually Asian, is what one of the things they keep on saying over and over again, that they call her Kamala, that Shady Vance or JD Vance tried to go onto her airplane, and Donald Trump's campaign spokesperson told Shady Vance to smell it or sniff it to see if it smells. While all of that's going on, JD Vance over the weekend gave a press tour. He spoke to various media outlets where he called on Democrats to stop bullying. He was complaining about the bullying tactics and says that it was unfair that Democrats are bullying him and Donald Trump. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has been caught using Jeffrey Epstein's airplane, not in the past tense. Currently, he's using the Epstein plane to campaign. One of the main planes that Trump is using is the exact same plane that Epstein used to traffic women. What in the world is going on here? This has been confirmed by our reporters at the MeidasTouch Network. It was confirmed by the Miami Herald. The same exact plane. We'll talk about what went down, but apparently the Epstein plane was sold to a Republican donor, and that person's giving Donald Trump use of it. So they basically just changed they rewrapped the plane on the outside so it says Trump 2024, but it's Epstein's jet. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is plummeting in the polls. So in addition to posting on social media over and over and over again, Donald Trump does what he normally does. He's threatened to file a lawsuit against the Department of Justice. He filed a notice to sue, which is the precursor to a lawsuit. He just picked the number $100 million, which is part of his tactic. Just pick a big number so the corporate media can run with it. And he says that Mar-a-Lago was unlawfully searched by the FBI and DOJ, and he wants $100 million for it. Meanwhile, a magistrate judge signed off on the search warrant. Donald Trump lost the case when he tried to challenge the warrant before Judge Eileen Cannon in the 2022 case, where the 11th Circuit overturned what Judge Eileen Cannon was trying to do. We will talk about Donald Trump's whiny descent into madness versus Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Walz's path towards a hopeful future. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Brett and Jordy. Brothers, how are you both doing?
I'm doing great, Ben. I'm doing great, Jordy. You never know what a day is going to bring. I mean, I didn't wake up today and think, hey, are we going to learn that Donald Trump has been flying around in literally Jeffrey Epstein's former jet to campaign and go to fundraisers since his plane broke down? I mean, come on. Out of all the planes in the world, somehow he ends up with Jeffrey Epstein's jet. Come on, give me a break. This campaign just gets crazier and crazier, and we're watching every single day. We've been saying it now for a very, very long time, that Donald Trump is a madman, that Donald Trump is declining, that Donald Trump is deteriorating before our eyes. But that's even accelerated to a whole other level over the past few days. I mean, the things that we are seeing are not only showing a man in decline, they are showing somebody with a complete and total psychological break from reality. The sad part is everything that Donald Trump does, he takes his followers down that same rabbit hole and down that same descent into madness. It's a real sickness that we are witnessing, but we are going to get into that and much more. But first, of course, we always got to check in with Jordy. What's up, man?
I'm doing great. Can we just get into the show? We have so much to talk about. This, come on.
Can I say something?
Come on.
Can I say something, Jordy? Jordy is wearing a red hat on the show, not for the listeners, a normal sports hat.
By the way, I'm doing it on purpose, and I think you're going to hit on why, and we haven't even talked about why.
I just want to say I can't wait to the days where we could bring the red hats back and not have people look at us. Like every time I see someone in a red hat, I got to do a double take. And just
you know what? So Brett, I consciously chose this today because we here at the MeidasTouch Network have been leaning in to the American iconography, the flags, the eagles. We're taking and reclaiming patriotism back from these pretenders. You know, when I do the show, quite often I'm traveling right now, so I don't have my normal setup, but I always have the flag, you know, flying behind me. And people ask often why. You know, when I see the flag, I think of MAGA. And you know what? That breaks and broke my heart, you know, the first couple of times I heard that. And quite frankly and candidly, I would think that too, right? These MAGA Republicans have so bastardized these symbols that we hold so near and dear to our hearts that when true patriots and pro-democracy warriors reclaim them, I mean, that is the day and that is the America I want to live in. And that's the America we are living in right now. So I wore this hat intentionally because I was thinking to myself, every time I do see a red hat, I have the same friggin' reaction as you, Brett, but I'm just sick of it. I mean, like, I'm not going to let these MAGAs just totally ruin the way I operate my life. And so red hat you go.
Look, I think we should start with the flag, the eagle, the symbols of the patriot, the Constitution. Then I like the idea of the red hat, but
sure.
I wouldn't exactly say a red hat is a symbol of patriotism. But I mean, I hear, just being honest, I hear you though. I hear you.
I see where it's coming from.
I see where you're coming from there, Jay. All right, look, when sometimes I see, to the extent there are sometimes criticisms of MeidasTouch, the biggest one I see sometimes is, you know, when you keep saying Trump's having a meltdown, or you're using the term cognitive decline, or you say Trump's in a panic, why are you using terms like that? Can you be a little more kind of level-headed in your terminology that you use? And then I say, I'm using the only words that I think exist appropriately to describe what it is that I'm watching. I think the problem is when corporate media does not use the words for the moment and they try to normalize this behavior, because this isn't just some eccentric political views. This is actually very deranged, bordering on real serious mental issues, and probably is real deeply seated mental issues, malignant narcissism, being a sociopath, being an actual psychopath. I mean, I've spoken to George Conway, who runs the Anti-Psychopath Pack, and he says, look, you go and you look at how psychiatrists diagnose psychopaths. Donald Trump is clinically a psychopath. So I'm trying to just use the language that captures this moment. So let's take a look at what Donald Trump was saying. Let's compare it to what Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Walz is saying. And, you know, look, while it is, you know, I think important and a positive sign that Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Walz are pulling ahead in the polls, pulling ahead in the swing states, even the polls that Donald Trump used to post about, Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Walz are pulling ahead. But you know, after seeing, you know, just what a Donald Trump event looks like versus what a Kamala Harris, it's like, how is this even close? How is this even a tough decision? And there are broader, more systemic issues that need to be addressed here. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to vote for the crew that flies around in Epstein's plane right now, presently. Like, could we all stipulate to that concept? Or how about what Donald Trump was talking about in Montana? So one of the things that Donald Trump was doing was he was mocking the senator of Montana, Jon Tester, and said that Jon Tester has the biggest stomach he's ever seen. And then Donald Trump proceeds to mock former Republican Governor Chris Christie. This is Donald Trump's message on his stump speech. Play the clip.
His name is Jon Tester, and I don't speak badly about somebody's physical disability, but he's got the biggest stomach I have ever seen. I swear. I swear. That's the biggest stomach. I have never seen a stomach like that. Because he doesn't look that heavy. You're not allowed to use the word fat. So if you use the word fat, you can say obese, you can say anything, but you can't say fat. That's the end of your political career. I said it the other night. Somebody in the audience said, Chris Christie is a fat pig. And I said, sir, Chris Christie is not a fat pig. You should not. And we argued about it for 3 or 4 minutes. So that was, nah, he's not a fat pig.
Look, 95% of his speech is just like that. For example, here he talks about this fan fiction that he's invented in his mind about what happens if President Biden shows up at the Democratic National Convention and he takes back the election and he goes, I'm running, stay away, Kamala. Here, play this clip.
Now he's seeing what the competition is. I hear he's going to make a comeback at the Democrat convention. He's going to walk into the room and he's going to say, I want my presidency back. I want another chance to debate Trump. I want another chance. But I handed Kamala and Crooked Joe a surging.
Let me just say, Ben, you said before that, borderline mental illness. I'm going to take away the borderline. I mean, this is some serious psychological issues that we are witnessing with Donald Trump. And I also want to call quickly attention to the fact that why is Donald Trump hosting a rally in Montana anyway? Why the heck is he in the swing state of Montana? I say that obviously very sarcastically, as you have Kamala Harris actually hitting multiple swing states in a week. And he's there, I guess, to settle some personal scores with Jon Tester on behalf of his drug dealer, Ronnie Jackson, because he views that Jon Tester is the reason for Ronnie Jackson getting caught with all the things, the pill mill in the White House when it was an Inspector General's report that the Pentagon released. Like, the whole thing is very weird. Why is he even there in the first place? And then we keep seeing Donald Trump say things like this, which just show a complete psychological break from reality. And we see other people in his camp parrot the same things. Like, we see his campaign managers start to parrot the same things. I hear that President Biden is going to deliver the speech during the convention and he is going to declare, I am the nominee now and I am taking. It's like, what are you doing here? What are you saying here? And if this is a strategy, it doesn't make sense. It's not something that's going to work. It just makes you look like a bunch of lunatics. And we keep seeing there's a very tiny backlash to anytime Donald Trump says crazy stuff like this from some people who are maybe a tiny bit more level-headed in the Republican Party. And they go, why would Donald Trump's advisors let him do this? Why are his advisors? He needs to fire his advisor. It's not the advisors, okay? Man up, accept the fact that this is your deranged candidate who cannot control himself. It's not the advisor's fault. Stop trying to give him some sort of out. He is an absolute lunatic. Sorry, Ben.
Well, Brett, you mentioned the pill mill that was being run out of the Trump White House during the years he was there while Ronnie Jackson was overseeing medical treatments. He's not licensed anymore, but at that time he was medical treatments at the White House. And just think about the fact that we talk about that on the MeidasTouch Network over and over again, but like the corporate media never even gave that half a day of coverage that they were giving out Versed, which is the date rape drug, ketamine, fentanyl patches in large quantities in the White House without any checks on it. And the Department of Defense did an Inspector General's report on that fact. Again, you go through all of these things. Like, could you imagine if that was taking place when Obama was in office? I mean, the MAGA Republicans and media tried to create a scandal when at the visitor center in the White House, a small, tiny baggie of cocaine was found while Biden's been in office. in the visitor center where there are literally tens of thousands of people who pass through every single week, if not more. Again, it just shows you the incongruity of the coverage, which is, by the way, I think one of the main reasons that this network is seeing a meteoric rise with the pro-democracy community and people caring about the facts. Say, yes, talk about the pill mill in the White House when Trump was in office. Talk about Epstein. Why not talk about Trump's connections with Epstein? That should be absolutely disqualifying. Call Donald Trump a sexual predator, because that's what he is. We're going to keep on doing that here on the MeidasTouch Network. Going through this Montana unhinged event that Donald Trump had, here's more part of his fan fiction where he talks about Biden wanting to debate, and then Trump's like, why did I debate him? He's like having his own like pathological psychiatric session in front of this. It's so strange to watch. Here, play this.
We're going to get Joe Biden out of the White House. What's he doing now? Greg, what's he doing? You know, he wanted to debate. If we didn't have a debate, he'd still be there. Can you imagine if we didn't have a debate? Why the hell did I debate him?
I wouldn't want this guy anywhere near anything, yet alone the nuclear codes in the office of the president. If someone were, think about this, imagine that you are in a very important meeting in your office, whatever job you have, or maybe just say you're doing a meeting with a nonprofit you're associated with or a social club. So close your eyes and imagine this. And then one of the leaders shows up and starts talking about an individual, and they talk about the individual like this. And I'm going to show you, this is what Donald Trump was saying at this rally about Vice President Kamala Harris's name. So I want you to think you're sitting there and maybe your organization is dealing with somebody else. You're talking about a big conference call, a big case, a patient, a client, a big deal. And then someone on your team starts talking about the person's name on the other side like this. Here, play this clip.
Kamala Harris. You know, it's interesting. Nobody really knows her last name. If you ask people, do you know what her last name is? Nobody has any idea what it is. Harris. It's like Harris. I don't know. How the hell did this happen?
And then here Donald Trump says, I don't even care if I say her name the correct way. Here, play the clip.
Sometimes referred to as Kamala. You know, she got about 9 different ways of pronouncing the name. And because the press is so dishonest, no matter how you say it, they'll say you were wrong. You were wrong. I don't care if I get it right. Actually, I couldn't care less. Couldn't care less. I actually haven't been accused that I know of calling it wrong, but if I did, they'd say that he did it on purpose, and you could do that. I've done a lot of bad name calling where you call somebody that you know how to say the name perfectly and you call it on purpose. They say, sir, you made a mistake. I said, no, I didn't.
Like, what even in the world is that?
This is some weird stuff. You know who was a pioneer in calling out some of this weird stuff? Actually, got to give George W. Bush a little bit of credit after the inauguration. Do you remember the comment that Bush made? He said, after he heard Donald Trump's inauguration, Bush, if you guys remember, he said something like,
weird shit.
Well, that was some weird shit. and it's persisted for a long time. And we've been calling out the weird stuff for a while. And the reason why that attack lands is because it's very true, and they continue to prove it every single day. I think an interesting thing that we noticed in a lot of these statements, though, also was basically an admission from Donald Trump that he's in deep trouble in a way that kind of Donald Trump could only present it. In that first clip where you have Donald Trump talking about the debate against Biden, at the end, he goes, why the hell did I debate him? And then after that, when he's talking about Kamala, he speaks, you know, her last name, Harris. Nobody knows her last name. What are you talking? What does that even mean? I don't know. Is this your new line of attack? Like, what are you talking? Talk about policies. Like, what is going on here? At the end of that, he goes, how the hell did this happen? How the hell did I think his world has just been so completely upended over the past few weeks. He thought he had this in the bag a few weeks ago at the convention after the shooting. He thought he was just going to glide to victory. All of a sudden, the Democrats came together. They made this change. They rallied behind Kamala Harris. We've seen a renewed excitement that looks more like Obama in 2008 than any other race, perhaps even more than that. And Donald Trump has has no idea what hit him, and he cannot psychologically cope with the fact that he is losing now. He cannot psychologically cope with the fact that Kamala Harris is getting bigger campaign crowds, that she's getting better attention on social media. Something like 80% plus of the content now on TikTok is positive Kamala Harris and negative Donald Trump. That's a big shift from the way that it was a few weeks ago. And this new reality, as it sets in, Trump has no idea how to handle it. And he's full of yes men who do not want to tell him the truth, that things are looking really bleak for him right now.
Do you guys remember the leaked call with Trump and RFK Jr. that came out when Trump was sounding awfully confident at the time? Now, this is 3 weeks ago. This was pre, Biden dropping out and Kamala taking over. And I mean, it's like when you're watching a basketball game and there's like 2 minutes left on the clock or whatever, and your team's up 6, you're like, oh, I got this in the bag. You start acting real cocky and confident, and it always comes back to bite you. And I got to say, it is just so bizarre as a society that we've normalized this behavior from Donald Trump, that he could just stand on stage and say, Kamala Harris, what's her last name? Is it even Harris? I mean, I don't even want to think that much into it, but is it like a racist dig? Is that what he's sort of hinting at, that Harris can't be her last name? And then it's just the dog whistle to, yeah, it is. It's just a dog whistle to his, MAGA supporters. But it's just truly sick and bizarre that we've normalized that that's okay from a leader of an entire Republican Party.
He does that a lot, though, so with
Jack Smith.
With Jack Smith, he says Jack Smith isn't his real name. And what Donald Trump was saying is, doesn't he really have a Jewish last name? And Smith isn't his real last name. With Vice President Kamala Harris, he's trying to say to his crowd, look into it deeper. Shouldn't she have an Indian last name? That's why he's saying that. That's the dog whistle right there. But compare what Donald Trump was saying there, whatever that was, to Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Walz's speech. So while Donald Trump is doing, again, whatever that even was, like, that's not a normal political thing. That is a weird cult WWE cosplay fascist convention where just this oddity is happening, versus here's Vice President Kamala Harris in Nevada, and here she is talking about what she promises to do as the president. Like, this is what you're supposed to do in a stump speech. Here, play this clip.
And it is my promise to everyone here, when I am president, we will continue our fight for working families of America. Including to raise the minimum wage and eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
Now, imagine if Vice President Kamala Harris, when giving that speech, she goes, a big issue that I'm having right now, I'm having an issue with Lindsey Graham's belly, his stomach. I've never seen a stomach like that before. Have you seen Hannibal Lecter, my friend? Hannibal Lecter.
By the way, Ben, I like the fact that, Fox, they're so desperate to kind of try to create a scandal of some sort. And you see their wheels turning. How are we going to get something to stick to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz? So they're trying everything in the book. And at this moment, like, Fox always looks like a propaganda network, and these Republicans always look like complete and total hacks at this point. But now it's more than ever, because you see them trying to do this messaging, and then you'll see Trump try to run with the same messaging, because, Hannity and Trump, like, they all coordinate on all this stuff. And so one of the things that Fox has been pushing is, have you noticed that Kamala Harris says the same things in a lot of her speeches? It's like, yeah, that's called a stump speech. It's literally been what politicians do for decades and decades and decades, and by hundreds of years, perhaps. By the way, Donald Trump also has a stump speech. You know why he talks about Hannibal Lecter in every rally? Because that's actually part of his stump speech. That's how weird of a person Donald Trump is. So yes, everyone has a stump speech. Somebody's talking about jobs and healthcare and reproductive freedom, and somebody's talking about Hannibal Lecter and sharks and electric batteries shocking you in the water. Like, there's a difference here, and that's why, like, it reeks of such desperation when you see all of these attacks right now coming out of Fox, and Kamala just rises above it. The passion's there, the energy's there, the people are with her, and you could feel that shift in energy, and that people are really trusting her right now and are excited about her.
Look, I'm very excited also to have this discussion with our patrons. So after this show at 9:15 Eastern, 6:15 Pacific on our Patreon, we have a secret link right now for a Zoom meeting. There will be a meeting with me, Brett, and Jordy. So if you ever wanted to meet with us, ask us questions, make sure you go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We don't have outside investors. So one of the ways you can help build this independent media network is through our Patreon. And meet us tonight at 9:15 Eastern, 6:15 Pacific. MeidasTouch still beating Fox, MSNBC, and CNN in digital views on YouTube, thanks to all of you. Also, we got some incredible gear at store.meidastouch.com. The Vice President Kamala Harris gear, the Mind Your Own Damn Business shirts are crushing it, and a bunch of other gear. There it is, the Childless Cat Lady gear. We're not going back, Kamala. Vote for the prosecutor, not the criminal. That stuff's been selling like crazy, thanks to all of you. And it's going to be really cool to see everybody wearing that gear out and about. Let's take our first quick break of the show. We've got a lot more to cover, including the fact that Donald Trump is now flying around in Jeffrey Epstein's plane. We'll be right back. A lot of us are struggling to keep up with everyday bills, food, gas, and even that power bill. So if you own a home, I want you to call my friends at American Financing. American Financing is saving their customers an average of $854 a month by tapping into their home's equity and wiping out high-interest credit card debt. $854 a month. It's like a $10,000 raise. Credit card interest rates are insane, and most of us are still carrying a balance from month to month. And if you're only paying the minimum every month, it will take you years to pay off. There are no upfront fees to get started, so call American Financing today. And if you call today, you may not have to make next month's mortgage payment. American Financing, that's 866-886-2026. That's 866-886-2026, or visit americanfinancing.net/touch. americanfinancing.net/touch.
Are you tired of terrible coffee while you're on the go? As a busy guy, whether I'm getting ready for work, I'm out traveling, or I'm just out and about on any given day, I've tried it all. And you know, as the resident coffee geek here at Meidas, my standards are very high. Portable coffee makers often fall short. They either make bad coffee, like disgusting coffee, or they're a hassle to carry around. But then I discovered the AeroPress Go Plus, and it changed everything. The AeroPress Go Plus is a complete travel coffee solution. It's not just a coffee maker. It's an entire brewing system designed for life on the go. It uses a customized tumbler that you could drink from and store your coffee maker in when you're done. It's brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. No mess, no fuss, just great coffee. I've been using the original AeroPress for more than a decade. I know you've heard me sing its praises on the show so many times, and I've seen all you rave about the AeroPress in the comments. So to have everything that I love about the AeroPress in a complete travel coffee system, it is like a dream come true for me. And unlike other travel coffee makers, the AeroPress Go Plus delivers smooth, rich coffee with a full-bodied finish. It combines the best qualities of a French press, a pour over, and an espresso machine all in one cup. Plus, it uses air pressure to speed up the brew process, so there's no bitterness and no over extraction. It's so good, I prefer to drink my coffee out of my AeroPress black. It makes for the smoothest, most full-bodied coffee that you could really drink and enjoy. Imagine having great coffee no matter where you are or what you're doing. With the AeroPress Go Plus, you can brew a perfect cup in just 2 minutes. It's the first time I felt I could have great coffee wherever I go, whether I'm on a camping trip with friends or just running late for a meeting. And here's an incredible offer just for our listeners. Visit aeropress.com/Meidas. That's AEROPRESS.com/MEIDAS and use that promo code Meidas, MEIDAS, to save 20% off your order. It's time to say goodbye to crappy coffee and hello to better adventures fueled by better coffee. Thanks to AeroPress for sponsoring our show.
Let's go. Shout out to our pro-democracy sponsors. AeroPress has been a sponsor for a while. I know Brett raves about his, as you just heard. Definitely check out the links in the description of both the YouTube and the audio. American Financing is a pretty cool one as well. I spoke to their owners, and they were freaking awesome and really down to earth. They explained to me the whole process, how it works. Check them out. If they're a good fit for you, fantastic. Ben, where are we off to next?
I appreciate you, Jordy. You reach out to all the sponsors. You know, we get a lot of incoming, and you make it a big point to speak to them, to try out the products, to test them before.
I do. You guys are going to miss me next week. I got like a big conference with all these brands and all the people I work with on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to miss you guys.
Fancy.
Yeah.
You were showing everybody Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Walz speech in Nevada. And we were contrasting it with Donald Trump's horrible speech in Montana. We showed a clip before where, get this, Vice President Kamala Harris was talking about the issues and talking about what she wants to deliver for the American people. You know, one of the things she said in that clip that you may have caught is she talked about eliminating taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers. I want to address this right now. You know, Donald Trump, unfortunately, was once in office. So he has a record. So we can actually compare his words and his false promises to what he did. What a novel journalistic concept. So rather than just regurgitate Donald Trump's words, maybe we take a look. What did his labor secretary introduce when he was in office? Maybe the Trump administration introduced a policy not to eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers when Trump was in office. What Trump advocated for was the right of bosses and employers to take the tips away from service and hospitality workers and to make the Fair Labor Act clear that the boss can take the tips. That was the policy. There had to actually be an amendment that was added by a Democrat to an omnibus spending bill in 2018 to stop Trump from allowing employers to take the tips away from the service workers. So we can actually look at his policies. And the same thing, like when JD Vance and Shady Vance, when they talk about, because we'll talk a little bit about what Shady Vance was saying over the weekend when he gave this bizarre media tour. He's like, I want to have child tax credits that are bigger than the Biden-Harris child tax credits. No, you don't. No, you don't. You know how I know? Because there was a vote on it last week. And guess where you were? Not voting in favor of it. You and the Republicans voted against it and stopped that from becoming law. So it is important that we actually articulate the truth and the facts here. And the fourth estate, the media, has given up that role. So let's just talk about the actual facts. It's why we here at the MeidasTouch Network make a very clear editorial decision that we don't air Trump press conferences and Trump speeches without doing a fact check. I hear doing something right now with Elon Musk right now as we're recording this live. I'm not covering that until I watch it and listen to it so I can fact check it the way I just did. I think that is a very important function that we do here, and I hope it's something that you appreciate that we do. Although, you know, I watch those things and I read the emails, as I say, you know, so you don't have to, but you know, you take a look at even some of these emails that Donald Trump was sending over the weekend, you know, and I cover them in my hot takes in the morning. And Donald Trump's like, I love Elon Musk because Elon Musk endorsed me, but I love Ben even more. I love you. Do you want to win the gold medal? That I swear to you, Jordy, it is actually this.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Do you want to win the gold medal? I've given you my gold medal. Here it is. It is a gold MAGA hat. Click on it and it's yours for free. Then you click on it. It's like, what? You have to pay $1,000. Like, what in the world is this? Sorry, I digress. I wanted to make that point about the eliminating taxes on tips.
I'll also say I have she gives actual details about her plans. Also, like you can ask the campaign, they'll actually give you details about it. Because one of the issues that people had with the Trump idea was that it's just a Trojan horse for hedge fund managers, for lawyers to basically reclassify their income as tips and avoid taxes. That was the whole scam of the Donald Trump plan. And so the Kamala Harris plan, when you ask about the details, I got word directly from campaign officials about how they want to implement this plan. The campaign officials said that it would require legislation because she's not a dictator like Donald Trump wants to be a dictator. She She would work with Congress to craft a proposal. It would have an income limit with strict requirements that specifically prevent hedge fund managers and lawyers from restructuring compensation in ways to take advantage of the policy. And she will do it in conjunction with an increase in the minimum wage. Those are big differences as well. And that's the concept, when Donald Trump talks about, I have the best healthcare plan, the greatest healthcare plan, the best infrastructure plan. Okay, well, let's see it. Let's see it. Oh, it's coming in 2 weeks. All right, 2 weeks passed. You got it? No, it's coming in 2 weeks. You got it now? No, I'll be holding a press conference. Okay, well, months have passed now. Years have passed now. We haven't heard a single actual idea, just platitudes every single time.
Look, Donald Trump has spent his entire life screwing over workers with schemes and stunts that benefit him and occasionally billionaire and decamillionaire friends of his, as long as they have memberships to Mar-a-Lago. So why do you think this time it's going to be changed? Especially, as I told you, go and research his record, where in the past he advocated that bosses get to steal your tips. That was literally his Labor Department's policy. It had to be stopped from becoming the law. Let's go on and talk more about what Vice President Kamala Harris is talking about on her stump speech. She talks about these tired and failed policies of Donald Trump. Let's play this clip.
America has tried these failed policies before, and we are not going back. We are not going back. We are not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back. And we are going to move forward. We will move forward.
We've got, of course, the We're Not Going Back shirts, 100% union made, 100% made in the USA at store.MeidasTouch.com. Check that out as well. Also, you have Governor Walz. When he spoke in Nevada, he talked about, and this is one of my favorite lines, mind your own damn business. Stop with your weird policies that are designed to take away our freedoms. Just mind your own damn business. Don't tell me what I need to do to take care of my family. Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, Matt Gaetz, Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You want to do that with your family? You want those weird ideas? Go for it. Just stay away from our families. Watch this clip.
I'm sure it's true here in Nevada as it's true in Minnesota. We respect our neighbors' rights to make their own personal choices. We don't have to agree with them or make the same choice, but we know that this nation, things work best when you mind your own damn business. You mind your own damn business. I don't need any help. I don't need any help from those guys telling me which books to read. I sure the heck don't need any lecture about morality from those guys. And the last thing they can mind their own damn business is I don't need any help from them talking about my family.
We also have the Mind Your Own Damn Business t-shirts as well, 100% union made, 100% made in the USA at store.MeidasTouch.com, a bestseller there as well. So Donald Trump over the weekend, I'm just going to show you a handful of his posts because, I could spend, unfortunately, hours going over these things. But Donald Trump wakes up and he says, release the J-Sticks hostages now. A great victory for justice. He calls the insurrectionists hostages. Then he goes on and talks about this fan fiction about he invents this debate that's not happening on Fox that no one's agreed to. The first debate's on ABC on September 10th with George Stephanopoulos, who Donald Trump calls Slopadopoulos because Donald Trump is a petulant wannabe third grader. He goes, the first debate with Kamala Harris for president of the United States will be with Fox News on September 4th, 2024, live from beautiful Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. No, it's not. That's not when the debate is. That's not a thing. That's not happening. Then Donald Trump goes, the second debate will take place on Fake News ABC, home of George Slopadopoulos, to be anchored by David Muir on September 10th at Independence Hall in Philadelphia. No, I mean, that's the main debate. Don't call another adult Slopadopoulos. And again, it's not even funny. It's just freaking weird. Then Donald Trump posts that Vice President Kamala Harris's crowds are not really there. Donald Trump is spreading a very, very false and horrific conspiracy that the crowds are added using AI. Let me be clear. Donald Trump and his base use AI all the time, especially as part of Donald Trump's bogus and racist outreach to the black community. We've seen Donald Trump post these photos, or Donald Trump supporters post these photos where it's like people with like 3 arms and just really strange stuff. So Donald Trump uses AI this way. We know that Donald Trump waves to imaginary crowds when he gets on the plane, and our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, has done montages on that. Then they add in the crowd later. So it's all projection and confession with them. The same way, by the way, we'll get to this in a moment, when Donald Trump's spokesperson told weirdo Shady Vance to go and smell Vice President Kamala Harris's airplane, and then JD Vance like went over with his crew of people. He literally said to go, Donald Trump's campaign spokesperson posted that JD Vance needs to smell Vice President Kamala Harris's plane, Air Force Two, because it probably smells bad. Donald Trump's on Jeffrey Epstein's airplane presently. Now he's flying around in Epstein's plane. It's all confession and projection with these folks. That's how you just basically, oh, what is it you're saying? Oh, got it. You're on Epstein's plane. You wrapped Epstein's plane where he trafficked people, a freaking crime scene, and you're a walking crime scene on that crime scene. And then Donald Trump says it's AI, and then he posts another one, it's AI. And then Donald Trump says everything about Kamala is fake. This is what Donald Trump's doing. And then JD Vance, so we'll talk about this in a little bit, he goes on his media tour over the weekend, and JD Vance says, stop bullying me. He says the Democrats are running a bullying campaign, and they need to stop their bullying. I saw one person say, what's he going to say soon? When they go low, we go high. I mean, Trump has created the most racist, horrible, amateurish, immature-ish nicknames. Everybody's a nickname. His whole thing is bullying. And JD Vance goes on and says, stop the bullying. And then JD Vance, who tried and failed to call out Governor Walz, who served in our military, not for 1 year or 4 years, which, by the way, would be, he deserves, applause if he did it for 1 year or 4 years, served 24 years in our military. And Donald Trump and JD Vance were accusing Governor Walz of stolen valor. Now, JD Vance in his media tour was accusing Governor Walz of not loving his wife or not being in a loving marriage, because there was an occasion where Governor Walz shook his wife's hand, which JD Vance is like, let me compare step by step how I interact with my wife. I give her a kiss. And then let's see who's weird. There was a commentator on Twitter who put that. I thought it was so spot on. Just, I want you to watch what JD Vance said, but I want to show this too as well. Pull up these pictures of JD Vance cross-dressing that have been appearing. There's multiple photos of JD Vance cross-dressing now that these are authentic, real pictures of him. And we know from this article in The Advocate and from JD Vance's book, JD Vance grew up thinking he was gay, and then he changed his name twice and became anti-LGBTQ and became an anti-LGBTQ extremist after his grandmother told him not to be gay. And now he's devoted his life to attacking people's freedoms and taking away freedoms. And look, for JD Vance, the way he cross-dressed, or whoever JD Vance is, we would have fought to protect his freedoms to live the life that JD Vance wanted to live, and to be free to live how he wants to live, to love who he loves. But now you have JD Vance going on CNN talking about how Governor Walz should kiss or not kiss his wife on stage. Let me show you this clip from JD Vance over the weekend on CNN. Play this clip.
I had just been announced as the VP nominee. I gave my big speech, and I saw my wife, and I gave her a big hug and a kiss because I love my wife, and I think that's what a normal person does. Tim Walz gave his wife a nice, firm Midwestern handshake and then tried to sort of awkwardly correct for it. So I think that what it is two people, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, who aren't comfortable in their own skin because they aren't comfortable with their policy positions for the American people. And so they're name calling instead of actually telling the American people how they're going to make their lives better. I think that's weird, Dana, but look, they can call me whatever they want to.
You're saying Tim Walz doesn't have affection for his wife? I don't even understand that.
I said that he acted weird, which he did, on a national stage in front of his wife and in front of millions of Americans.
Hello, humans. Let me tell you what normal people do, humans.
Dana Bash is like,
as a normal person, let me tell you how normal persons interact, human beings. I mean, what in the world? Like, what in the world is that? Dude, Donald Trump's flying Jeffrey Epstein's plane around right now. Like, what are we talking? You want to talk about relationships? Donald Trump's been found liable for sexual assault. Donald Trump said Jeffrey Epstein is a great guy who likes women on the younger side. He was referring to girls. Donald Trump had at Mar-a-Lago girls who Epstein trafficked worked at Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump wished Ghislaine Maxwell well. He said, I wish her well.
Donald Trump has to renegotiate his prenup with his wife in order to keep her saying nice things about him. Like
the biggest compliment, honestly, the nicest thing you could ever even say about Donald Trump was on an occasion, he shook Melania's hand and kind of pushed her and told her to sit down. That's the peak apex of compliment that you can give Donald Trump, is that he shook her hand and pushed her and said, sit down. Donald Trump met Melania at the Kit Kat Club at a modeling agency that brought Eastern European women to meet wealthy Manhattan men at the Kit Kat Club. We want to talk about relationships. Donald Trump's, you want to talk about Donald Trump's relationships? Donald Trump talks about the thing that he has in common with his daughter is sex. Donald Trump talks about buying beauty pageants so he can inspect girls without their consent. Donald Trump held a look of the year competition with 14-year-old girls who went on a yacht where men old enough to be their grandfather grinded on 14-year-old girls. And Donald Trump posts the photos of himself with the girls. He's posted some of them on the Truth Social thing recently as well, and the one that the Guardian wrote about. That's the photo that Trump like reposted in a video that he made. So we want to talk about that. Donald Trump brought his kids around Epstein. His kids hung out with Epstein. Like, but what are you talking about, Shady Vance? I'm fired up. We got to take our last break of the show, but we got a lot to talk about as well. I want to also still continue to talk about the fact that he's flying on Epstein's plane. I want to remind everyone, store.MeidasTouch.com is the place where you can get all of that gear. That gear is selling out like crazy. So just make sure you get that gear now. And we want to wear that loud and proud and unapologetically out and about.
Here's what I want to see also when it arrives, when you get it. I want to see people at the various rallies across the country. I want to see y'all taking photos, tagging us in them. That is going to make our day. And we'll retweet them all and we'll show them on the show. So I'm looking forward to that. Did we get a freeze Ben? Looks like we may have got a frozen Ben. Well, we'll be right back after this. More about JD Vance, probably some more about Donald Trump on Jeffrey Epstein's jet. We'll be right back after this. Hey everyone, I want to share something that's really made a difference for me when it comes to enjoying a night out with friends. It's called ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol. Pre-Alcohol is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night, drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Every time I have pre-alcohol before drinks, I notice a difference the next day. Even after a night out, I can confidently plan on hitting the gym, enjoying a brunch, or just getting some important work done without worry. I'll be honest, I was a bit skeptical of ZBiotics at first, but then while hanging out with my friends at our favorite bar downtown, I decided to give it a try, and let me tell you, it really works. The first time I tried pre-alcohol was during a friend's wedding weekend. I had my first drink of the night, a delicious old-fashioned, by the way, right after taking ZBiotics. The next morning, I was up early, Feeling great and ready to join the rest of the wedding party for breakfast and activities, it was a total game changer. With vacations, weddings, birthdays, and reunions, there's so much going on this summer. Get the most out of your plans by stocking up on pre-alcohol now. Go to zbiotics.com/Meidas to get 15% off your first order when you use Meidas at checkout. Pre-alcohol is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/Meidas, M-E-I-D-A-S, and use the code Meidas at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, ZBiotics, for sponsoring this episode and our good times.
Have you heard that the flavored air category is quickly becoming the leading alternative to vaping and smoking? It's a whole new movement towards better habits, led by the sponsor of this video, Fume. Fume is an award-winning flavored air device. Flavored air isn't like vaping. If vapor was compared to sticky soda, Fume cores are closer to herbal teas. Fume has lots of delicious flavors to choose from, like crisp mint and orange vanilla. With flavored air, you can satisfy your oral fixation through a passive diffusion system that utilizes no electricity. Fume draws flavor to your mouth. Fume fills the void ditching a bad habit can leave. You still have something to reach for. Fume is not a vape. There's no vapor, and you could use it anywhere. There's no nicotine. It's not addictive. The non-toxic flavors are a guilt-free alternative. Fume doesn't use any batteries, so you'll never need to charge it. The design is super sleek. It looks awesome, and you can truly feel the weighted high-quality design. One of the things about Fume is that it's made to fidget with, and it calms anxiety with magnets, snaps, and clicks. Fume continuously invests in third-party studies to ensure the safety of their products. Fume is also backed by doctors in the United States. My favorite Fume flavor is crisp mint. It is honestly delicious, and I couldn't recommend this more for anyone trying to quit their bad habit. Fume has served over 300,000 customers, and you can be the next success story. For a limited time, use my code Meidas, M-E-I-D-A-S, to get a free gift with your journey pack. So head to tryfume.com. That's tryfum.com. Tryfume.com. Use code Meidas or scan the QR code on screen to get a free gift with your order today.
Let's go. Hey. Ben is back and not frozen. And Ben, just so you know, the links to the description and the description of all of our, great partners, they're in the links. They're right there in the audio description and the YouTube description. Fume's really close to my heart because it's helped so many of the Meidas Mighties start a good habit and quit their bad habit. Please put in the chat. You guys do this every time Fume's a sponsor of the show. Tell your story. Let us know if you like and use Fume. And ZBiotics has become a huge fan of the network. You know who uses it a ton? Gabe. Not to out Gabe here, but he talks about how much he loves ZBiotics. So definitely check that out. Links in the description. Click it. Let him know we sent you.
I love it. Look, I mentioned before we took a break that Donald Trump's been flying around in Jeffrey Epstein's plane currently as part of Trump's campaigning. So Trump is using a plane that Epstein used, one of the planes that Epstein used to engage in horrific and criminal conduct. It was later sold to somebody, and then that organization that has it has, I guess, given it to Trump for the purposes of Trump being able to use it. And Trump literally wrapped the Epstein plane, and it now says Trump 2024 on it. This is right now, Donald Trump flies on it. It's a Gulfstream 550 Aero. So it's a top plane out there. Donald Trump's plane that he flies around with Trump Force, whatever he calls the stupid thing, it's actually a very old and outdated, bad plane. It's really big. So Trump likes to say that, like, look at this big plane that I have, but it's like a really bad plane, an inefficient one to fly around. This G550 is actually a very top of the line plane, but it's actually it's Epstein's plane. Like, who would you ever think about saying, you know what I'm going to do? Let's use the Epstein plane right now, and we're going to fly around in that and make that a major part.
Maybe you got a discount, frequent flyer miles, something at play there.
And just so people can see, you can just take a look at. So they changed the tail number to try to hide the plane and that it has new ownership. But but on the hull, the serial number stays with the hull. So it's 5173 when you compare it. And then if you look at it, it's the identical plane and they overlap They overlap perfectly. So, yeah, that's what Donald Trump is flying around in right now. And I think that should be called out and given more attention. And look, we've done lots of reports here on the MeidasTouch Network about the Epstein list, because look, MAGA Republicans, the Epstein list, the Epstein list, the Epstein list. Well, I don't really hear you talking about that much, because Donald Trump's like the main name in the Epstein list. If we're talking about the flight logs, if we're talking about deposition transcripts, if we're talking about the fact that during Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, someone who was 14 years old at the time said Epstein introduced her when she was 14 years old to Donald Trump. If we're talking about call logs, if we're talking about photographs, if we're talking about deposition transcripts. Mar-a-Lago. Yeah, I mean, look, Virginia Giuffre, who was trafficked by Epstein, for example, after she was homeless, she got a job at Mar-a-Lago. And then when she was working at Mar-a-Lago, Ghislaine Maxwell saw her there and then introduced her to Epstein and made her massage Epstein. And then sexual assault happened. And then Epstein started trafficking her from Mar-a-Lago. And that's how that was, and Donald Trump wished Ghislaine Maxwell well at the criminal trial. I mean, it's just really horrific.
Every woman in Donald Trump's life, nasty. Ghislaine Maxwell, I wish her well. I mean, I think that speaks volumes also. The people he criticizes, the people he doesn't. Donald Trump does not criticize Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump does not criticize Ghislaine Maxwell. I mean, it really, those things tell you a whole lot about the man.
I don't know why this is a taboo subject for me. I'm sorry, Jordy.
I was just going to say the Trump Epstein connections are criminal, disqualifying, and like at minimum weird. We've said this on the show. Could you imagine like how much corporate media would play this if it was Joe Biden who was in those videos hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, or if it was Kamala Harris who frequently registered in those Epstein flight logs that you mentioned, Ben, or if it was Kamala or Joe using Epstein's plane for campaign events, but just crickets from them on this. It's the selective caring about Epstein and those who were tied to him. That just drives me up a wall, because not only does this need to be investigated and there needs to be hearings, the American people genuinely need answers about this. There's a major political party being run by their candidate, Donald Trump, who has a well-documented history of being close friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and they just sweep it under the rug because that's their guy. They don't care, Ben, to your point. When the logs came out and all of the information came out, they just stopped talking about it. Not here.
It's so crazy. Well, I'm happy this has at least, we've called enough attention to it that we're at least finally beginning to see, some of the networks pick this up, and the Miami Herald dug into it. And so I'm happy that there is a microscope finally being shined. They'll probably forget about it by the morning. But I'm happy that for now, at least, this is getting out there and people are becoming aware of it.
Brett, pull up the photo of the 1991 Look of the Year finale. That this is what Donald Trump did in his business. This is Donald Trump had these little girls, not that one, this one, yes. Then Donald Trump had these girls walk in front of him like that. And the night before, they were on a yacht where he was on, and that there were friends of Trump's who were on the yacht as well, grinding on the girls. And these are men old enough to be their grandparents. Then you have the photo of Donald Trump from that Guardian article that was taken at that event. Teen models, girls, stop. Teen models makes it. These are girls. So just say little girls, powerful men, and private dinners when Trump hosted Look of the Year. Just pull back that photo one more time, of the girl. Who does this? Like, what grown man? It's sick. What grown man? And this is who the Republican Party is saying should be who should be the leader. I mean, it's revolting. And I'm sorry that I put that image even up there on this channel, but like I have to explain and express it clear-eyed who this maniac, this lunatic, this predator is. And then I want to just talk briefly about just earlier today, Donald Trump gave notice to the Department of Justice that he will be filing a lawsuit against the DOJ for the search warrant executed at Mar-a-Lago. This is an entirely frivolous lawsuit. Trump's just doing this to get attention. He's claiming he's going to sue for $100 million. Look, the fact that a magistrate judge signed off on this search warrant and found probable cause already means that this lawsuit will be dismissed the moment it is filed. And then you bolster the fact that the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals has found that Donald Trump, that this search warrant, that there was sufficient probable cause for the search warrant. Judge Eileen Cannon dismissed the case on the grounds that special counsels shouldn't exist. It's not even a real thing that she dismissed the case on. Of course, special counsel should exist. But, Donald Trump, this is what he does when he's cornered and he's desperate. It's the same playbook over and over again. He will be sanctioned for that lawsuit. And we will keep you posted every step of the way. But Brett, tell us about the economy. Tell us about some of the other data, polling data, enthusiasm out there. Tell us about it.
Yeah, first let's get into some economic updates, and we'll do that on everybody's favorite segment, the NetSuite Know Your Numbers segment.
This is the NetSuite by Oracle Know Your Numbers Minute.
So I'll make this quick, but we do have some good economic updates to bring you. And what I love about NetSuite and this partnership and using NetSuite is its convenience. That they provide these real-time financial data and analytics. They help businesses quickly adapt to market trends. And so I want to bring you some of those trends, like the trend of inflation continuing to come down and people's expectations of inflation coming down, which is also a big deal. How people feel about the economy is often a very big deal. Inflation expectations are now back to normal. And not only that, the 3-year expectations is at its lowest level ever recorded per the New York Fed's 3-year consumer inflation expectation survey, which began in 2013, the lowest ever. In July, consumers' 3-year ahead inflation expectations fell by 0.6% to 2.3%. Bank of America's CEO Brian Moynihan was on TV earlier this week. He said that the bank's research team no longer predicts a recession anymore. How many times are we going to go through this where these analysts, say it's all doom, it's all going to happen 100% chance, and they go, oops, we were wrong about that. Well, Brian Moynihan, the CEO of Bank of America, says that they no longer are predicting a recession, but he does say, we still got to be careful, right? He mentioned that we quote, won the war on inflation, but we have to be careful so we don't get so perfect that we put ourselves into a recession. This news, of course, comes after the unemployment claims last week came in below expectation, again, staving off the fears of recession after the constant drama that we heard from the Trump and MAGA crew, that it was all because you had one day where the stock market went down a little bit, that everything was about to fall apart. The U.S. economy grew 2.8% in the second quarter, faster than expected, amid solid gains in consumer spending and business investment. And it looks like we're getting some rate cuts on the horizon, folks. Fed Chair Jerome Powell says an interest rate cut could come as soon as September, so that continues to be on time. And the good thing, if you do have NetSuite, is that it allows for quick adaptation to any new government policies that come your way through agile system updates, so your business is always prepared. Oh, and this is actually a pretty big news. The interest rate for the most popular U.S. home loan plunged to its lowest level in 15 months, giving potential home buyers some long hoped for relief. Of course, the interest rates have been quite high for home buyers, and the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate declined to 6.34%. That is the lowest reading since April 7th, 2023.
That was the NetSuite by Oracle Know Your Numbers Minute. Do you know your own numbers for your business? Download NetSuite's ultimate KPI checklist right now at netsuite.com/Meidas.
So that was the economic update. I'll go through some of the polls just briefly. I don't like to harp on polls, but I do, as I say, like to see trends in the directions that things are moving and just historical data points, how they shift. And so I found this interesting because the New York Times Siena poll has been, over the past few months, very negative towards the Democratic nominee, towards Biden. And they came out with their swing state poll, and it actually shows Kamala Harris now up 50-46 against Trump in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Now, when you go to the 538 poll averages, you see Kamala Harris up 46% to Trump's 43.3%. And this one was particularly interesting, which was a poll on how people feel, who people feel would be better to handle the economy. Now, to me, this should be the most obvious poll of all, because every time these Republicans take the White House, the economy crashes and Democrats have to come in and save the day. It happens like every single time. Yet voters are often tricked into believing that Republicans are better for the economy, even though they continue to put us into recessions. But for the first time in this Financial Times poll, Kamala Harris leads Donald Trump. This is the first time a Democrat leads since the survey began. She leads Donald Trump in the economic survey, 42% to 41%. And we've seen this seismic shift also in the betting markets. There's a website called Polymarket, which now has Kamala Harris at her highest reading ever, 52% to 46%. And that difference continues to increase between the two candidates. We're seeing this kind of all across the board. And so you're seeing this shift of actual kind of reality of hard data. And the thing that just has been a little frightening to watch as this all happens is how MAGA and Donald Trump cannot seem to handle this reality. And so this is something that I'm just concerned about as we go towards these elections, because I think Kamala Harris is going to continue to do this. And we all need to continue to act like we are 10 points behind every step of the way. It's just the only thing you can do. You have to act like that because you cannot get complacent. However, these Trump people always act like they're winning. They act like everything's fake, like everything's AI. Like there is a sizable amount of people, and a lot of them could be bots, who genuinely buy into Donald Trump's derangement. And they are so diseased and poisoned by Donald Trump's statement. They are honestly some of his biggest victims, these supporters who parrot these, oh, it's all AI, the crowds. Well, why isn't anybody posting photos from their cell phone or videos from, okay, here's somebody's cell phone video. They're literally all over the place. They're everywhere. You just got to look. Oh no, that one's AI. Okay, well, here's 20 others. AI, fake. Okay, so you just do not believe in reality whatsoever. You see this bizarre thing happening too with these kind of right-wing influencers about Tim Walz, where in their mind, Tim Walz is a drag on the Democratic ticket. Tim Walz, who's like probably the most popular of all the candidates in there. He is objectively, by the favorability ratings, like the most beloved of all the candidates, like very universally beloved. And these Republican influencers try to act like Tim Walz is about to get ousted from the race by the Kamala campaign or by Nancy Pelosi. Someone's going to step in, because it's all projection, because they're worried about their own people. So you have some people trying to just do kind of these psychological operations, these psyops, and try to spread this garbage. And then you have a whole lot of people who are the victims of it, which are the Trump supporters who buy into it and then continue to push and spread it. And what happens is, you know, January 6th happens. That's how these things happen. People get so brainwashed into thinking that Kamala Harris is incapable of winning because they were told by Donald Trump, they were told by the people they trust that they had this in the bag. They were told that all those crowds were fake. So this must be some sort of fraud. And so that's the thing that I'm worried about, and I'm going to be kind of eyeing as we get through this next few months, because, you know, we don't want another January 6th kind of situation on their hands. And you see actively the Republicans and organizations like Fox News and these right-wing people who are putting their followers deeper and deeper into this false reality, this alternative universe. They are doing such damage that I think is going to erupt in a very negative way for our country ultimately. But I'm hoping that people are starting to wake up at least a little bit, because it's so absurd, and are coming back to reality and are seeing that this is not about political parties. It's not about Democrats. It's not about Republicans. This is about America. This is about American values. And the reason why I get excited watching these Kamala Harris rallies, not just because they're inspiring, not just because of, you know, the kind of specifics of everything, but the fact that they're celebrations of America and they're celebrations of democracy. And I like that idea that Jordy was speaking about at the beginning of the episode of taking back patriotism, real patriotism, not this phony patriotism. A Kamala Harris, Tim Walz rally, they are speaking of the possibilities of America. When you go to the Donald Trump rallies, they are speaking about how much America sucks. Like, America's the worst country. We're a nation in decline. Oh, have you heard about Hannibal Lecter? And you're going to die, and your family's going to die. It's really such a contrast. Yeah. And I think that folks out there are done with this hate and negativity, and lying, an overwhelming amount of people. And so we need to keep spreading the joy. I love that with the Tim Walz messaging, with Kamala Harris messaging. Keep spreading the joy. And we can't be afraid to be unapologetically pro-democracy and unapologetically patriotic about things, with also that idea in mind that patriotism is also working to make America as good as possible and fixing the things that we need to fix and making people's lives better. That's what we're all doing this for, right? That's why we got into this, right? We just want everything to be normal. We want people to get the help they need and to everyone have a shot to succeed. And so that's my kind of pitch at the end of this episode. I want to thank everybody for joining us. This is a good one. We covered a whole lot. And Donald Trump's flying. Jeffrey Epstein's playing. What the hell is happening, folks? Anyway, Benjamin.
Let me just show you Kyle Sweetser, who appeared on the MeidasTouch Network before. Here's what he had posted. He goes, I'm a Republican. I'm a landowner. I'm a gun owner. I hunt. I fish. I'm a 2-time Trump voter. I'm a Nikki Haley voter. I believe in America, our Constitution, and the rule of law. I'm voting for Kamala Harris this November. And then he did another photo where he said, did my post hurt your feelings? When all of the MAGA people started attacking him. Look,
yeah, they said he was AI. They said his tractor was AI. Cat Turd got very upset. They said he's not really a Republican. They tried to like dox his location of where his parents live. Like that. That's what the MAGA movement is. Like it's very poisonous and bizarre.
Brett, just even pull back what you said. Cat Turd said the main Republican influencer who hosts one of their big podcasts is a cat turd avatar who calls himself Cat Turd, and the turd does interviews with Don Jr. and all of these top. I mean, let's just reflect on that. Look, there's a reason that we have the American flag here on the show. There's a reason why, we talk about how much we love our country, we love our flag, we love our Constitution, we love our democracy, and every day we do our best to support the values of our country and the values of our democracy. And we welcome anybody who supports democracy into this pro-democracy community. Democrats, liberals, progressives, independents, mainstream, conservatives, Republicans. If you support our democracy, welcome. Here's Truth Matters, Facts Matter, and we'll keep on doing it here at the MeidasTouch Network. Want to remind everybody about store.meidastouch.com. Get all of that pro-democracy gear. Check it out. These items are flying fast off the shelf, so make sure you get them now. Store.meidastouch.com. We're about to do our Patreon chat, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. If you're not a member, go right now. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Subscribe. You'll see the secret link in the feed. Meet Brett and Jordy and I on Zoom. Ask us questions. We'll be there for an hour. I'm excited to meet you. It also helps grow this independent media platform. Meidas Mighty, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. I feel the momentum shifting. I feel the momentum has shifted, and it's really because of your hard work, and we are grateful for you. Jordy, take it away.
Shout out to the Meidas Mighty!
Standing strong against the fascists, we sing our song. We will get it right whenever.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. The film Against All Enemies, which I co-produced with Ben Meiselas and this network, has won awards around the world for its up-close portrayal of America's insurrectionist movement. It premieres in the U.S. on March 29th on Amazon and Apple TV. Go to againstalllenemiesfilm.com or click the link below. But don't just watch Against All Enemies. Tell your friends about it. It's one more way to hold accountable those who threaten our democracy. Thanks, Meidas Mighty. Let's use our power well.